In a small town named Mono, the market was the heart of activities, where vendors loudly advertised their goods and the scent of fresh produce filled the air. Among the vibrant crowd, a figure sat in the shadows, everyday young man named Asker. Clad in tattered clothes, his face was hidden beneath a worn hood, his hand outstretched as he begged for alms. The townspeople had grown accustomed to his presence, often sparing a few coins out of pity. Asker's story was a tragic one, though few knew its details. He had once been a lively boy with dreams, but fate had dealt him a cruel hand. Now, his days were spent in the market, hoping for the kindness of strangers. His voice, always soft and pleading, echoed in the minds of those who passed him by. One ordinary day, a woman named Nama made her way through the market. Her steps hurried as she sought the freshest vegetables for her family. Nama was known for her kindness, often going out of her way to help others. As she navigated the crowded stalls, she suddenly felt a light tap on her leg. Startled, she spun around, her heart racing. "Jesus," she exclaimed, her voice trembling as she caught sight of Asker's eyes staring up at her from the ground. "I'm sorry, ma'am," Asker apologized, his voice barely above a whisper. Nama's fear turned to sympathy as she took in the sight of the young beggar. She knelt beside him, her eyes softening. "How may I help you?" she asked gently. "Please give me some money," Asker begged, his voice filled with desperation. Nama hesitated, her mind racing. She had only brought a small amount of money with her to the market, just enough to buy what she needed. But as she looked into Asker's pleading eyes, her heart softened. Despite her own needs, she reached into her pocket and handed him a small amount of money. "Thank you, ma'am," Asker said, a faint smile tugging at the corners of his lips. Nama smiled back, nodding as she rose to her feet. She turned to continue her shopping, but as she took just 2 steps forward, a strange sensation washed over her. Her chest felt light, as if something had been taken from her. A sudden cold fear gripped her heart, and she froze. Without warning, she screamed, drawing the attention of everyone around her. The bustling market fell silent as people rushed to her side, their faces etched with concern. "What's wrong?" a man asked, his voice urgent. "My chest," Nama cried, her voice trembling. "One of my breasts, it's gone." The crowd gasped in horror, their eyes darting to Asker, who still sat quietly on the ground. Whispers of dark magic and curses spread like wildfire through the market, and soon all eyes were on the beggar. "It was him," Nama said, pointing a trembling finger at Asker. "He did this to me." The crowd surged forward, surrounding Asker with a mix of fear and anger. "Undo it," they demanded, their voices filled with righteous fury. "Restore what you've taken." Asker's eyes darted around, his expression one of confusion and innocence. "I don't know what you're talking about," he stammered, but the crowd was relentless. "Undo it, or we'll take you to the pastor," one woman threatened, her voice cutting through the air like a knife. Panic flickered in Asker's eyes, and he realized he had no choice. All right, he muttered, his voice shaky. "The only way to restore it. She must spit on the ground." Without hesitation, Nama spat on the dusty ground, her eyes never leaving Asker's. For a moment, nothing happened, and the crowd held its breath. Then, slowly, Nama felt the weight return to her chest. Tears of relief filled her eyes as she realized she had been restored. The market erupted into shouts and murmurs. Asker, seeing the anger in their eyes, knew he had outstayed his welcome. He quickly gathered his few belongings and fled the town, disappearing into the shadows from which he had come. As the days passed, Nama was haunted by the encounter. Her heart, once so full of kindness, was now guarded and wary. She resolved never to help a stranger again, fearing the consequences of misplaced compassion. But that night, as she slept, she had a vivid dream. In it, a warm light surrounded her, and a gentle voice spoke, "Never let fear extinguish the kindness in your heart. Every act of charity is a seed planted, and though the harvest may not always be what you expect, it is always worth the planting." Nama awoke with tears streaming down her face. She knew then that she could not allow one dark encounter to overshadow her spirit of generosity. As she rose from her bed, she found baskets of vegetables left by the market women, a silent gesture of their gratitude and support. They had heard of her ordeal and wanted to remind her that kindness was still valued. With a renewed heart, Nama hugged each of the women who had come to comfort her. She reminded them to be cautious but never to lose their spirit of giving. Aska's tale became a cautionary story in the town, a reminder of the strange and mysterious ways of the world, but also of the enduring power of kindness and faith.